Why are estate agents so poor at marketing themselves? Today, I'm joined by Andrew Seldon, who is the new Managing Director of Belvoir. Thanks for joining me today, Andrew.
Thank you.
Why are agents so really rubbish at marketing themselves and their agency? Talk to me.
I think the biggest problem is the agent can't translate their message to their target audience. And there's lots of nice brochures, social media posts, information within branches, windows, etc., websites. But it's how you get your message across to a seller or a landlord. Um, because in most towns, there are what, 4 or 5 plus estate agencies, you're up against it. So what do we all do differently? We're all on Rightmove or Zoopla. We're open
Yeah.
7 days a week. You've got my mobile phone on a business card and you can ring me whenever you like. But what is it we do differently? And that's where you've got to stand out. And if your staff in the branch can answer that, because they might be better at dealing with inquiries, their response time, their customer reviews, how do you translate that into your next social media post or your next flyer that you're putting out there? What's the language within that? And quite often I think it's misunderstood. I do think when you've got a big corporate brand, it's one message for all.
It's very homogenized, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've got to be very homed in on your local market. Manchester's very different to Liverpool, for example. They're not that far
It
apart.
is actually. It's
Yeah.
massively different.
So what's the message and how do you get there? So I think there's not a lot of thought sometimes that goes into the message. I think some of these things look great, look nice, but nice doesn't win you the listing. And that's what you're after. So I think there needs to be a bit of a change. But again, it's talking to people in the business who are doing it day in, day out. What's it, if the valuations where you've not got the instruction, why was that? Was it your marketing? What's the agent that's winning the instructions doing differently?
What are you doing to nurture them? Because the amount of agents say, just call me if it doesn't work out. They're not ringing you back, are they?
No, absolutely not.
Because you've not made it easy for them to ring you back.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think that's exactly right. So I do think that some very clever people in marketing. That, if you can get your message across and they can translate that with good content, then that's where it needs to be. But who's driving the content? That's sometimes what worries me. There's a marketing team driving it who haven't done the job, who've never been sat in front of somebody in the lounge trying to win instruction that four other agents are after, or is it an estate agent that's cut their cloth and they get it? What works. So I do think the messages has to come from within the branch, and it gets filtered up wherever it goes to in terms of a decision making. But I think a lot of the time I see things and I look at them. I'm an estate agent and I don't get the message. I don't understand why it's there. And sometimes, yes, it's a nice glossy creation, but it doesn't mean anything. If I'm a seller, I want to know what that agent's going to do for me, and it's quite hard to translate that into probably 5 keywords on a social media post. But this is where we've got to work together with marketing and get it right, because I think there's a lot of money spent on marketing.
Most of it's wasted.
Most of it's wasted. And what is the message that we're trying to get through? I mean, at the end of the day, it's listings, isn't it? That's so how it survives. So how do we get that message across to our so-called vendors and landlords that will be using our brand? So I think it's a very difficult one to translate. But like we just said, you go into regions, those people sat in the branch in Manchester City Centre or Liverpool City Centre, they know what the landlords are after. That's the message. So Chris, you're into marketing for estate agents. Help me. What's your thoughts?
I think a lot of estate agents see the portals as a method to get them valuation leads.
Yeah.
And it costs them an awful lot of money. But Rightmove is a showroom, not a stock room.
Yeah.
And they see the marketing they spend on Rightmove to get them. And don't get me wrong, there are always listings that will bring other listings in, but you need the listing in the chicken and the egg. You need
Yeah.
that listing to get the next listing.
Yeah.
It shocks me how most agents marketing, if you look at their social media, which is free marketing, it, it's not going to bring someone to you, like you say, listings, if all you're posting on social media is your listings. Most of the stage is listing, testimonial, listing. Yeah, look what we sold. Here's a
Yeah.
pie chart.
Yeah.
Listing. and and that's not, you need content that is going to attract the attention and turn that attention into interest and turn that interest into trust, that people will give you a call, because they won't call you unless they trust you. And you've got to give them content that will be not just will be interesting to the recipient. So if you're in Didsbury,
Yeah.
no one really cares about your estate agency, or meet the team. Sorry,
No.
no one really cares about your listings unless they're actually looking for that house, or they have a house like that on their street. But I can see you've got one on the street because I've seen you for sale board. But I tell you here and now, everyone's obsessed about the value of their own home,
Yes.
and everyone's obsessed about the area they live in.
Yeah.
So if I was in Didsbury, I'd be talking about the Didsbury property market, Didsbury house prices, Didsbury rent, that sort of thing, and I'd be talking about living in Didsbury.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what people need. They need to hear that.
but if you think about it, that's exactly what I do with my marketing.
Yeah.
Is that if as an estate agency supplier, I don't go out there talking about what I sell. I create content like this, and I practice what I preach. You know, genuinely, if I wanted to talk about stuff I was interested on the sofa, we'd be talking about train timetables.
Yeah.
I'm not a train spotter, by the way. I just love train timetables. Okay. I'd also be talking about craft beer, because as you can tell, I love craft beer. And I'd also be, you might not be able to see this on the camera, I also like whiskey and the different things. That's what I'm into.
Yeah.
So, but instead, I talk about what's of interest to estate agents. You, as estate agents, I'll say not you, but you, yes, you watching this, and letting agents need to talk about the stuff that the people in the locality are interested in. It isn't you, it isn't your firm, and it isn't your services. It's them and where they live and how much the house is worth. And if you talk about those things, you're on to a winner.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think and it's how we've got to get that message across then to marketing teams or whoever's in control of marketing
Well,
to portray
let's
that.
be honest, the vast majority of estate agents are one man, one woman band, so they can do that. For the corporate estate agents, it's all just a homogenized mush.
Yeah.
It's all got to look and sound the same.
Yeah.
They're not marketeers, they're brand police.
Yeah.
If I've offended anyone, couldn't give a shit.
Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. And it is. I mean, I did something recently with a client, and we had a lot of rental inquiries coming through from people who didn't meet the criteria. So we put a social media post on top 5 tips for renters, first time renters in particular. We were targeting, and it was done in April. We got more hits on that post than anything else in April.
Okay. But then hits don't necessarily mean landlords.
No, but it's driving traffic
Okay.
to the door. So I think it's doing more than perhaps the listing of a £1,200 a month 2-bed terraced house.
Okay. But why not 5 top tips on how to buy a buy-to-let property in Cheadle?
Yeah, so that's the sort of
Yeah.
information you get out there. I've seen other agents put jargon buster type messages on, which are fine because I think it's engaging.
I mean, I know you've only just joined Belvoir in the last few weeks or so, but I know some of your Belvoirs actually have create graphics, and I don't know if this is from HQ or where they're doing it, where they actually drop in some stats from Dataloft about the average rent and how it's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is you can do all this stuff. There's so much data out there, ladies and gentlemen. Just get out there and talk about the property market. You'll be on a winner.
Yeah, and I think you can also protect your business because I did something else on the renters' rights bill, and there were landlords murmuring of selling because of it. So we had a conversation and we talked about, have you looked at what your capital gains tax position is going to be on it, and how does that position the value then to you, and what really is putting you off about the renters' rights bill, and once you have the conversation, because in their head they're just seeing the headlines,
Yes.
and it's bad news in terms of how you see it. But when you read into it, it's not really that bad. And you're holding on to your investment, which, by the way, is a prize asset because there's not enough stock out there anyway, sales or lettings. Hang on to it. But that message had to be portrayed in it was actually a letter we did to an email letter to the managed landlords and non-managed landlords we'd actually for 12 months, and it got a lot of interest.
You're so right.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time today. Put your comments in the comments section, whether you think we're talking about rubbish or whether you agree with us. Thank you for your time today, Andrew.
Thank you.